Today is Thursday, February 16th. It's 5:30, and this is a special meeting of the Cranston City Council. This is an executive session. On the agenda this evening, before we get to the agenda, if Rosalba, if you can just take a roll on attendance, thanks.
Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Present.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Present.
Councilman Donegan,
Present.
Councilman Campiano,
Present.
Council Paplaskas, Councilman Riley, Council Vice President Vargas,
Present.
Council President Marino.
Present. Okay, on the agenda this evening is one single item that we will be having executive session on, as noted pursuant to the Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5 subsection A subsection 2, collective bargaining negotiations on the IBPO local union 301 fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2026. I'd ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Okay. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Council President
Yes. And now go into executive session. If Shannon, you can Executive session, I just like to note for the record that it was a unanimous vote to come out of executive session. At this time, I'd like to take a motion to seal the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? Rosalba, if you can please take the roll?
Councilman Ferry, Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes. At this time, I'd like to take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
All right, good evening. Welcome to the Public Works Committee. It's Thursday, February 16, 6 p.m. Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Council Vice President Lamas, Vargas,
Yes. Here.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Present.
Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Present.
Councilman Donegan,
Present.
Councilman Riley,
Here.
Council President Marino.
Present.
Thing. This item on the agenda is the approval of minutes of last meeting. Can I have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Clerk can take the roll, please.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you. On to the first item, committee business matters carried over. There are none. I'm going to move on to the second item of the agenda. That's public hearings. New matters before the committee. Is there anyone here in the public who's here to speak on any public hearings? Is there anyone on Zoom? That's right. All right, if there isn't anyone, we'll move on to the next item, which is new matters before the committee. We have Councilwoman Jermaine. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening. So my two items today is the first one is status and update on the Budlong Pool project. I want to read a letter. So I received many letters regarding this situation and people are waiting. I am waiting. So I want to share this letter, among all of those I received, I want to share this. After I will ask the question to the administration, the question I have. So I'm gonna share the letter first. And this sentiment is convey like really the majority of Ward 2 residents. I am writing to you about the pool and a recent article in the Kingston Herald. The mayor's interview made it seem like a splash pad and barbecue area plus a use of area that ends at 5 p.m., then opens again for just adults from 6 to 10 p.m. I live near the pool. My own children grow up swimming at the pool in the summer. It is the only public pool that I know of in the city. Further, many of their friends also enjoy swimming there in the summer. Not to mention, it is one of the largest outdoor pools in the US. I am very disappointed to learn that the proposal is to take away the pool as it is and to make it into a kiddie land with a splash pad. This confuses me. When my children were that small, I didn't want them out in the sun, nor did I want them running around on a wet surface. Can you say liability? Furthermore, as a middle school teacher, many of the children in this age group also enjoy the pool. It gives them a place to go and something healthy to do. Most kids at 14 don't have a job and would benefit from having a safe place to go to have fun. Would these kids need supervision? Of course. Kids need supervision. Perhaps sit down and arrange for school lunches to be passed out in the summer. There is a representative who has proposed making lunch free for all kids in Rhode Island. And perhaps provide activities at the pool which would also be fun and educational. Make a list of acceptable behaviors and have their parents come in person to sign them up. If they do not display acceptable behaviors, then call the parents and they lose the privilege of using the pool. Simple as that. But don't exclude the older kids in favor of toddlers and the under 6, 7 who will use a splash pad. Also, why open up from 6 to 10? People have their own yards and their own barbecues. Are we asking for liability? Really not necessary. The council has to approve the money allocation before anything happens. So please consider these comments before taking action. When I received this letter and I read it and I said, it's worth sharing it with all of you. And I know all of you, you are in one voice, we want the Budlong Pool to open this summer. That's our desire. And I believe we cannot say it's a matter of money because we passed a resolution allowing to use ARPA fund for the pool. So there is no excuse here. We receive a grant also for the pool. And it was as this resident saw in the news, I saw the proposal as well for a reduce pool. And when we consider that our population grow, we have more than 82,000, right? In Cranston. And this pool is the only one we have for the populations to use, and they've been using it for decades. So it was closed from what I was told, or we were told, because of COVID. Now everything's getting normal. I will say everything is getting normal. So I have the question for the administration. So where we are in terms of the Budlong Pool project. So what I read in Cranston Herald, is it something that were proposed by a expert on pool? Or is it from the proposed study that was conducted? How much it will cost? And I have many other questions, but let me ask those two questions first.
What was the first question, please, Councilwoman?
How much it will cost based on what I saw in the, what was published in Cranston Herald?
Yep.
It
The-
was like a proposed reduce, it's like totally a new thing.
Mhm.
Uh,
Sure. I believe all council members, in fact, I believe it was in the Herald, given that design of the pool, which was contracted by an architect who then went out, given that the conceptual design to obtain estimates as to what that cost might be. Again, given what's there, which is still open for discussion and input. So if there's certain things about it, it's not locked, cast in stone at this point, but it can be changed and we encourage further input. But that being said, the estimate for, if you break it down to two phases, altogether, the estimate's about $7 million. That would be for renovating the pool house. That would be for installing a splash pad heading away from the pool house. And then building a pool approximately a third of the current size of the pool. Progressing beyond that, there would be either tennis court, pickleball court, or a bocce court, something like that, along with, I'll call it a pagoda house. I'm using the wrong term, but an area where you could have picnic tables, benches, that type of thing for gatherings. That whole project is estimated about $7 million. If it broken down, we looked at this to say, if we broke this down to two phases, to say the pool. So that is also encompassing this, what I just described, without that pagoda house / picnic area and the pickleball area or whatever recreational area there would be. So it would be renovation of the pool house, the installation of a splash pad and a pool, as I mentioned, approximately a third of the size. That project is estimated to run, including architectural engineering, design and development costs, in the vicinity of $4.5 to $5 million for that segment.
Sure, Councilman Riley.
You get a specific number as to what it would cost to renovate and fix everything wrong with the pool house and to redo the pool as is?
No, the architect and Mr. Bernardo, along with the architect and the consultants that were out there, is basically that you have to build a new pool. It's not renovating what's currently there. There's too much decay, damage. That's the existing pool itself, the size of it. So no, that hasn't been looked into, thinking that wasn't an option was not an option. Again, given that capacity, which is obsolete. And with it isn't just the size of the pool, they also have to maintain it, lifeguards, you know, all the costs associated with it. So to answer your question, no, but it'd be quite substantial.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Thank you. Mine is, I more so have a comment that might turn into a question. So I can certainly appreciate the letter that Councilwoman Jermaine received and that person's opinion, because I do believe we do need places for teenagers to go as well as younger children. But I just want to note that that pool is huge. The pools that were built in the Roosevelt era in the 1940s with that money of that magnitude have already been redone. Some more than once. All the pools in New York, same thing, that have gone to this model to shrink the size of the pool, but still have a pool so people can swim and then add other elements of recreation around it, because it will actually include more people. So that pool has a capacity of something like 1,200, and they only sold 350 season passes in the last years prior to it closing. So if we cut it, you know, what is it going to be, 2/3 of the size that it was, the pool, 1/3? That's around the 350, right? If it's the capacity is 1,200. So we'll still utilize the pool. Kids can still swim. 14-year-olds can still go. And then they can also play pickleball, tennis, basketball, go to the baseball field. And then toddlers can go. And if it opens at night, more adults can go. That, to me, I see it as it will be utilized more than if we left it the way it was, which would, it's saying it's impossible to rebuild exactly how it is. I get the historical aspect and I very much appreciate it. I went to the Budlong Pool as a child, but if it's not going to be utilized in the way that it was many, many years ago, then I don't understand why we would even make that consideration just for the point of history. We're supposed to have more people wanting to come to utilize the space. I think that's the point with the community growing. There's more young, small children in this community now. And, you know, with a capacity of 1,200 people, that's the size of Cranston West. Like, every kid is not going to that pool every day. There's also other things to do. So my personal opinion is expanding what we can do there is a better option, and it will be more inclusive for the city. So I just want to put that out there. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yep.
There we go. Sorry, pardon me. May I add anecdotally, I believe the size at a third is as large, if not larger, than every pool in the city of Providence, though obviously there's various pools in the city of Providence, not just one. And at peak, I guess it was measured previously, similar to what Councilman Renzulli was saying, that I believe approximately 350 to 400 passes were sold. Now, that some of those could be family or individual, but not used all in one day at one point in time. But it's very confident that the pool is more than adequate size to accommodate any peak seasons with, you know, within, you know, that they would be utilized.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jermaine, are you okay on that subject? I have one follow-up on that subject, if I can. All right. So Director, I know, so we received about $750,000 from that congressional earmark grant that came through. There are some guidelines that go with it, which we have to actually monitor and fulfill. So that 750 is not, here you go, City of Cranston, we have to follow up on that. Is there any follow-ups that we are currently or will be doing before that guideline expires, I guess, in terms of the Budlong Pool?
Yeah, the grant data I know is very generous in terms of the usage of the funds, in terms of the outdates. But the critical date, which is attributable to virtually all federal grants, is the contracting, the proper awarding of it, that there's certain restrictions. And secondly, and critically, is projects cannot begin until the grant document, the grant agreement is signed by both parties. So it's fully executed. So yes, we've been awarded it, but then the federal agency will be drafting the agreements, sending them over. So it could take months for that to happen. So correct, if we don't want to gamble forfeiting the $750,000 by breaking ground too soon. Otherwise, if we do, it would likely be, it would have to be some discussion, if not forfeited.
So the question remains, will we or will we not, as a city, see any groundbreaking this year? And will our kids have anything, a pool to go swim at this year?
It's not reasonable or feasible to have a pool installed for this year. Groundbreaking, yes. But it'd be unrealistic to say that.
All right, thank you. There's another matter, Councilwoman Jermaine, that you
I
have?
two more questions, so I will.
Sure.
So, yeah. My other question is, as you mentioned, is, the pool in all the innovation that is attached to it will cost $7 million. Where do this $7 million will come from?
Now, that's a very good question. And this is for consideration. The recommendation is, the bottom line would be, I think this should be vetted through the budget process, which is going to be upon us very, very soon. The way we're open to any suggestions, but the way we see this would be one of two things: using ARPA funds or partially using ARPA funds. If it qualifies, we believe it would, but we want to verify that that is a valid use, but we're quite sure it would be. And then also certainly using our bond funds. So either the city sponsored along with the grants, or use or combination with ARPA and the federal funds, that $750,000 grant, or if more so happen to come through. I think those are basically the two options.
Dr. Moretti, as I know, as a person, logically, would you consider to afford something you can't afford for the sick to afford it, or you can do something you can afford? Because what I see here, I love all those feature, right? One thing we don't take into consideration, we are doing something here to satisfy, okay, yes, those features good. But the thing is, last summer, we all experienced how hot it was, where we all trying to find cooling station for those people. And we know the use of the pool will be best for when we get into summer. So my question is, why you don't know where this $7 million can come from? And since we passed this resolution asking to use ARPA fund, and I think still now, you don't know how much you can take from ARPA. And you don't even start the process to ask whether the treasurer, general treasurer. And we know we asked Auditor DiMario was he said, based on the guideline of COVID, we could use ARPA money. We know we can use it, but you should go like get this step to know how much we can use. That's what you should give us today. How much you can use from ARPA money. This is what we have in terms of funding, not really making, this is a fantasy. It's not, we're not asking for fantasy. We're asking to have a place for when summer hit and it's hot and our children not going to school, can have a place to go. Not the fantasy land. You can't even afford. It would be good to have in fantasy land. But if you can afford it, you are talking to something and you don't know where you can find the funds. Are we serious? No, are we serious?
You're definitely misinterpreting what I told you, and I'm not in fantasy land.
Councilman Jermaine, do you have anything else? Or does anybody else have any? Councilwoman Renzulli.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that we end this on the same page. My understanding, we have the funds. It's just deciding which pot we take the funds out of to best utilize the funds. We have we do have money that we could use based on bonds, but using the bonds might not be the best way to go. Is that's how I understand it. But my question beyond that is, are we still searching for further grant options to supplement what we've already had so that we don't have to use bonds money or excessively use ARPA money, because that could go into a different pot? Is that happening still?
Future grant money, if it comes federally, is going to jeopardize prolonging the process longer in order to utilize those funds.
But could it be done in a phase where there's something done
Yeah,
using something, and then we go on to the next phase and we use something else, so that at least I think that people like to see
Yeah.
progress, and if there was a little something,
The-
then people would be satisfied.
Yes, the recommendation from the mayor is break this into two phases, phase one, phase two. Phase one, the pool house. He's encouraging a splash pad. If you feel you don't want to do a splash pad, I'm sure he's open to not do it, but when you're installing something, you're gonna get best economies of scale to do that in the pool and address the other $2 million segment at a later time.
But is it,
And also to complete that, because if you really look at it, we're getting to be the end of February to the mayor's budget is due to the council for deliberation April 1st. We're talking maybe 6 weeks away, and we'll have a much better idea where we are financially. So that's why I get back to the two options of ARPA or the or regular bond funds.
which I understand. Are there just multiple different things that could be presented to us? Would it cost less perhaps as you're doing the Bain splash pad? We get some kind of deal that, you know, we're gonna do another one right now to start things quicker, so that we can say this summer, there will be something for people to do. And you don't really need a bathhouse to play in a splash pad, because people can just come there, I think. I don't know the exact, how the health code is gonna go, if you need to have bathrooms or if you need to have porta potties, how it will work. But if someone could figure that out, I think that would satisfy more people, and there'd be less pressure to spend all the money and do this all at once. And I think that would be probably better for the council and the administration and the whole city. So that's just me talking off the cuff. Thank you. I appreciate that this project is moving forward.
Let's go with Councilman John Donnie. We'll go to Councilmember Ferry right after.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Chairwoman, Vice President, Director, what's the deadline? So obviously, when this comes before us in the budget process, I would think it would come through the capital budget. Which has to be approved by planning. What's the deadline for the administration to submit that to planning for their approval to be included in the fiscal year 24 budget?
Great question. The mayor has submitted, I believe, $5 million within the cap to planning for their consideration. So it would be coming back to, through the budget process for presentation to the council for April 1st. And it also, there's a possibility of the ARPA funds, but obviously we know we'll have to balance that with, revenue loss. So I don't think we're going to know a lot more 6 weeks from now than we do know this evening.
So the total estimate was 7 million. The mayor is asking for 5.
We believe that, or recommend doing another pickleball court or the pergola house, I call it, could wait. Whereas more essential being the pool, and essential is the pool house renovations. You can't have one without the other. I'd say the only optional thing would be the splash pad. And as you know, the construction's begun, and the Bain splash pad, and at least there'll be something there will be something we'll have come the warm weather.
When were those documents sent to the planning department?
I'm going to say within the past 2 weeks, Mr. Zidelis was submitting them.
If the council would like to review what exactly was the mayor is requesting through the planning department, should we reach out to Director Zidelis, yourself, or to Director Pizzula?
I'll be happy to follow up.
Oh, and when you have those, would you be willing,
Sure.
kind enough to share with the council?
Sure.
Thank you. And then I tend to agree with Councilwoman Renzulli regarding just the general gist of the project. I think that the Budlong, as someone who also learned how to swim at the Budlong pool, it is a piece of history. That piece of history has played its part and been really a core to a lot of great memories for a lot of people in Cranston, and hopefully the new rendition of that will continue to provide those memories and opportunities for people to come. So looking forward to seeing what the exact plans are. And with the mention of splash pad, I do want to thank the Bain project is finally going, and it's been several years of working on that, and so I just want to say thank you to you, Director, to the Mayor, and to Director Tasalia for getting it going, because I know that the community is really looking forward to it.
Thank you, Councilman Ferry.
Through the chair, if I may ask Mr. Moretti a question, and you don't have to give me an answer on this tonight. So I'm trying to really pay attention to what's going on here, and what I'm hearing is that there's a $7 million plan and there's a $4 million plan. 5. Why can't we have a $2.5 million plan that gets us a pool within the next 2 years? I mean, it just seems to me that in regards to what she was saying about Fantasyland, I think what maybe her point is that why do we have to shoot for the sky here when the summer comes and the pool's not open? We're going to get the phone calls again. And then if we break ground, we may not even have a pool the following year if we're going with a $7 million project. So it just seems to me, why can't we just have a $2.5 million plan that gives us a pool that we can open and the rest of it can be done after? I know the overall project would be beautiful and everybody would love it. It would be very expensive. And it just seems to me that if we had something with less high hope, but would give us a pool, I think that's what people really want in this city right now. They don't want a paddleball court or whatever you call it. They want a pool. And I'm just want to get it on the record that people want a pool. And if the pool's $2.5 million, we're already halfway there with the money. We put the opera money in, bingo, we have a pool. So that's just my comment. Thank you.
No, I don't have the answer to that. I'd be happy to go back, at least to get a back of the envelope estimate. But I could just say that the pool house is going to be necessary. That's for sanitary purposes, for health department purposes. In the pool, the only thing in there that to take off that $5 million, say 4.5 to 5 million, is a splash pad. And if you want, I'm just spitballing this. If you want to say it's $500,000 on the high side, perhaps you're probably still talking in the 3.5 to probably about the $4 million to $4.5 million range for the pool in the bathhouse. That's just a
I
quick.
was just trying to make a point. Thank
I
you.
got your point.
Thank you, Director. Councilmember Riley.
Thank you. And I fully agree with the Councilman Ferry. I think in terms of whether or not we even need one, we just are building our first splash pad. So before we go designing and paying for a second one, let's see if people even go to this one and what problems exist there or not exist, so that we can then develop a second one if we see a need for it. We shouldn't be doing things unless there's a need for it. There's definitely a need for the pool and the pool house. Beyond that, I think it goes a little beyond what the city should be doing. But I think we need to give the citizens a pool and watch the tax dollars.
I know that you can't take a vote. But if you'd like individually to send me a text or an email giving me your opinion, I'll be happy to bring that back immediately to the mayor and give you your ideas. Having that design, this input is good. That's what we want, frankly. But if you let us know, I'll get back to him as soon as we can. I'll collect that information in several days, and then we could take another peek.
Yeah, Council President.
Yeah.
You have a question?
Thank you. I just want to thank Councilwoman Jermaine for bringing up the subject of the Budlong pool. the good news is, I think everybody in this room, the administration, we all agree something needs to be done. We all agree it should have been done yesterday. And while it will be a large expense, we all agree we want to spend the least amount to accomplish the goal. And I think that from what I've heard this evening, we all agree that we just want a pool for the kids to use. We just want a pool open. We understand we've got to have the ADA compliance and a facility, but we don't want all other kinds of bells and whistles if it's going to delay the project or have us overextend us financially in a place that we don't need to be. So the sooner we can get it done, just stick to what we need, which is just a functioning pool. And I appreciate the administration's efforts. And I will say this, I do know that some of the funding opportunities in terms of the grant meant that they had to be little things like recreational, I believe, aspects of it, but that shouldn't be a huge expense, I hope. So thanks.
Sure. If I may respond? to the
Absolutely.
chair. In terms of delaying it, I don't think it's going to delay it. Hate to say it, but this, practically speaking, the season's it's not going to happen for this summer. So given that, I think it's perhaps a matter of cost and utility, what you're really looking for. So I think either way, it would be next year, someone going into the pool. But it would be a matter of cost and scaling back is kind of, I think, the message I'm hearing. Yeah, as an option.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
think Council Member Jermaine, I know there's still another item on here, but you will have a follow-up to this subject or are we on to your second item?
So I want to conclude with, I feel I do believe that if we took into consideration for the past 2-3 years, the needs of the resident of what the priority was, we could have the pool for this summer. So the only one thing they need, have a place to cool off when the summer hit. And I do appreciate, all the work you've been doing around it, but there's nothing concrete. It's all words. We have nothing concrete. You talk about, it's 7 million, you talk about bonds. I don't know what is the process to use a bond. We talk about if there any other grant available, and we know how long it's gonna take to have grants. The only thing we have at hand is ARPA fund. And the only thing the administration could do is make sure to know how much money we could use, this is what we're going to take from ARPA and use it as what we have to start off. Start off with what we have, not dreaming from what we don't know when we're gonna have it. So be practical. That's what I think. So if I'm working, I know if I can afford a house, $5,100. I know. Where is my budget? We know, and I know we always talk about being fiscally responsible. Are we not fiscally responsible now? So I agree, that will be so good to be so inclusive. But what now the immediate need is have a pool. So if we said the least thing we could do, we say we start off with ARPA. Okay, I'm gonna take $2 million from ARPA to start the pool. That's concrete. Director, we have nothing concrete here. It's all blah, 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 blah.
May I just one?
To finalize, yes, please.
Yeah, I think we're all saying the same things, including us two, Councilwoman. Again, regrettably, we're not going to see a pool this year. Now, the considerations for using ARPA funds or the budget, going back to it, I think we're gonna have better perspective in a few weeks that to say how we best off approaching that. Certainly, we would love to use the ARPA funds as the first choice, but we just want to make sure we're due to, with possibly using revenue loss, we don't want to put ourselves in a pickle on an operating basis, but certainly.
ARPA is
definitely
not
being
the, is,
considered.
is, no,
Certainly
no,
being
ARPA
considered.
money is something else. Don't do that, don't do that. Don't do that. ARPA money is something else. You're not gonna use ARPA money to balance the revenue.
Councilwoman Jermaine, you have one other item on there, discussion about walk safety in Ward 2.
Yes, thank you.
Floor is yours, Councilwoman.
I have a letter to share as well.
Through the chair, while she's looking for the letter.
Yes.
Does Councilwoman Jermaine, do you want to take that off the agenda for next month? Or you want to leave it on?
Are you referring to the Budlong Pool? Councilwoman Jermaine?
Keep it for next, in 2 months,
April,
April.
the April Public Works?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
It's gonna be there every month, but give them some, at least next month, we're gonna have how much money, where we are with ARPA, because we're still not knowing where we are. So I give a little more time. Let's see, we are March,
So we're in February right now. The
February,
next one would be
March.
in March, and then the
And
2
yeah.
months would make it in April, Public Works meeting.
yes. Yeah,
So
okay, put it on March.
through the clerk, yes, Public Works, March meeting. Thank you. Moving on to your next item.
Thank you, Chairman. So I did share some slide about sidewalk in our ward at the last meeting. I don't know if you could, do you have this slide you can share?
I do not currently have the slide.
Okay. So as I mentioned at the last meeting, our sidewalk are really sick. They need a doctor. And I really don't know who is the doctor. So I have many questions about how to help our sidewalk. First question, before I read this letter that a resident sent to me, and I have to tell you, I have received a lot, but I choose one as I choose one for the Budlong. Before the elections, knocking on doors, and I saw how bad our sidewalk are. Trees going up, bumping. Our children cannot circulate. Our elderlies, we who have a walker cannot go for a walk. And we have a speeding issue that has not been solved. So our quality of life, so people cannot go out to really use the sidewalk to walk their dog. You cannot use your sidewalk to go with your toddlers, your 1-year-old in a, chair. You cannot do that in Ward 2. I don't know for the other ward, but in Ward 2, a mom cannot go out in the afternoon for a walk with their kids. There is no, otherwise you're gonna be right in the street and you have those people who speeding. So the safety, what I saw, the safety in Ward 2 is very, very big issue. So let me read this for you. My name is, I'm not saying the name, I live in Mason Ave in Ward 2, along with my wife and a 50-month-old son. I had been intending to write to you for some time about some item affecting our area and would like to know what you or the city could do about them, if anything. 1, we walk a ton since getting a dog, but as the weather improves, we like to walk to Dave's and all the shops and restaurants on Wall Square. However, there are lots of cars that speed to the tune of 50+ miles per hour, some of whom ignore crosswalks, and many of whom are trying to beat a red light in front of the elementary school. Has a speed bump in or around Waterman been considered? Oh my gosh, okay. Our sidewalks directly in front of our house and both of our neighbors is a disaster. And using a stroller on them is impossible. How can this be fixed? Many of the streets around us have been repaved in the last 2-3 years. See Bryant Road as an example. Why hasn't ours also been paved? It transforms the look of the neighborhood and adds value to our homes. It seems odd that Bryant got paved when it was arguably in better shape than Mason was at the time it was done. Budlong Field has 2 basketball courts, but one of them has been non-functional for years. It also has several paved and grassy areas that are not being used for anything, to say nothing of the pool that hasn't been open since before COVID. Are there plans to do anything with the unused areas? We would love to see something the whole community can enjoy, such as a dog park, pickleball court, or a playground. Thank you in advance for your time and consideration. So this letter has so many things that we've been talking about, but sidewalk is one of them. So I have many residents that says, I want to redo my sidewalk, but there is a program in the city, and the way the program works, you have to have your own contractor, and to benefit, so like 50%, and you have a reimbursement. What I would like to ask is, first, is it possible we can change it? We ask anyone who wants to have their sidewalk done and give the 50% to the department, and the department can do the sidewalk the way like uniform. So they have the materials, they know better, because they are struggling with contractor. Sometimes they could not find a contractor that can do the work and that have the license and to be reimbursed. So if the city has the money to reimburse, so why don't you make it easy for the resident? Residents say, okay, it's gonna cost me, like I have an appraisal, it's gonna cost me $500. And because I'm gonna have $250 reimbursement, why don't I give the $250 to the Department of Public Works, and then they do the work? So that's what I want to propose. I don't know if we, in the charter, how we can do, or if that I would like the administration to answer that, if that's something that has to go to ordinance, and if it's something that can be done through the program? So that's my first question. And the second question is about the trees that damage our sidewalk. We know we need trees. We have a program, we need to plant trees. But at the same time, we need to ensure the safety of our elders and our children, because we have complaints. I know of a resident that has a son, a child, that fell on a sidewalk and sued the city because his arm was broke. My son fell on the sidewalk and was a thief. So if we want to have the quality of life for our residents, we need to address those trees that damage our sidewalk. And last time I brought this into the council, I was told it was at the discretion of the warden tree to cut the trees. So my question now, who is liable when someone fall because of our sidewalk are not safe? So thank you.
So Councilwoman, I assume those two questions are for the administration, correct? So administration or someone, it's the legal counsel and the council members, two questions, please.
As far as the liability portion, we do have two ordinances under Title 12, which state that the abutting landowner is responsible to repair any defect in the sidewalk. They're back to back. And the way it reads is that if the director of Department of Public Works determines that there's an issue with the sidewalk, that the abutting landowner is put on notice that they have to effectuate a repair. Okay, so we already have that in our ordinance. So it does make the abutting landowner, the abutter to the sidewalk, responsible to make that repair. In terms of liability, that's a more difficult question because generally, and I think I said this the last time this topic came up, in general, any city-owned property imputes, if there's a problem, imputes liability to the owner of the property, which would be the city. But the exception is if, like pursuant to these ordinances, if a homeowner or an abutter knows of a defective condition and does not repair it, I think an argument could be made that they could be held liable. So it's difficult to give you a bright line absolute rule as to who would be liable in every situation. I think it would depend on the specific facts.
Can I have I have been like, I know we going back and forth with this. The sidewalk, who is the owner of the sidewalk?
Well, the legal owner of the sidewalk, just like the streets, the legal owner would be the city. But as I said, we have ordinances similar, not the same thing, but similar to the snow removal ordinance, which shifts the responsibility of maintaining the sidewalk to the abutting property owner. So the city is the legal owner, but we do shift responsibility to maintain the sidewalk to the abutter.
Councilmember Donegan.
Just every time this comes, the late Cool Moose, Bob Healy, wrote a really interesting editor in the Herald, maybe at this point, 8 years ago, that asked some of these questions. And yeah, I know Councilwoman Marzulli are kind of looking across at each other, wondering how is it possible that a public entity is shifting responsibility for maintenance onto a private individual without any ability to appeal that responsibility?
Well, those types of ordinances, believe it or not, have been challenged throughout the country, because I did research this at one point. And what I found was nothing short of incredible. I found cases where a landowner was tasked with maintaining and cutting down grass on abutting land that was owned by a city. And I said, when I first saw the factual scenario, I said, there is no way a court can possibly uphold this. A person has to go out, like you see on the sides of the highway, where you might see them on the medians, they're cutting the grass, but it's the highway department doing it. And I found that some cases, believe it or not, where the courts actually upheld that and said, yup, it is not only the responsibility of the landowner, but the financial responsibility, which truthfully, as an attorney, I found to be incredible. But there is case law out there, and there are courts that uphold these kinds of ordinances.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on this? Councilwoman Renzulli.
Thank you. So going back to so the city owns the sidewalks, but makes residents responsible for fixing sidewalks and shoveling the sidewalks. But if they fall on the sidewalk, they can sue the city unless they are found to have not maintained the sidewalk that is not owned by them. And if there's a tree in the sidewalk, making it a hazard, they don't have the right to even pay with their own money to remove said tree, to fix the sidewalk that they're responsible for that they don't own. Is that correct? And the only way to fix that is if we write some kind of ordinance changing that?
Well, you can write any ordinance that you like
Yeah.
and setting up any procedure you want to set up. I'm just telling you what the present status is as of right now. We have these ordinances on the books now,
Yeah.
but without trying to further complicate what's already a complicated issue here, the Supreme Court in Rhode Island has made it very clear that in situations, and this applies to the snow removal ordinances, the court said, yeah, okay, that's fine. You can do that. However, if somebody slips and falls, the homeowner or the abutting property owner will not be liable. There's case law, I've read it on that. They're adamant about that. You cannot sue the homeowner. You could tell them, clear the snow. Somebody slips and falls, they're not getting sued.
Did you know, or is it possible that this might be an outside of this arena conversation, but does anywhere, and again, you probably have to look this up, I don't expect you to know, just if you give the sidewalks to the homeowner and then say, you're responsible for maintaining in the same way that you're responsible, you can't have your grass over a certain height or whatever, and then they're responsible for everything and they can't sue the city, would that, other than uniformity, because then we can't really control exactly what people do, I don't think, would that maybe be fiscally better for us and give people the freedom and liberty to make a nice sidewalk and then clear it and then not sue us? Because we keep going over how we're self-insured and we don't want to really open ourselves up, but maybe it also takes away work from us. Just saying, just an option.
I think that's more of a policy decision than it is really a legal question. I mean, obviously, and I know this has happened before, the city on occasion has abandoned sections of a street, for instance, that's no longer useful for whatever reason. And that becomes one half of, I'm just using the example of the street, one half would go over to the abutting landowner on one side, and the other half becomes part of the land holding of the other abutter. So it's been done obviously with roads, and truthfully, I'm not aware of any situation where a city in one fell swoop basically said, okay, every sidewalk in the city or the town is now going to be abandoned and conveyed over to the abutting property owner. I think you'd probably be a test case for that.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions before we move on?
You didn't answer
Yes,
the question.
Councilwoman Jermaine.
Yes. From what you said, if we want to address that, it has to be to an ordinance.
Sorry, Councilwoman, I didn't get the beginning of that. You said about
Oh,
from by
yes.
ordinance.
So to resolve the sidewalk problem, safety. So, I don't know if you were here when I showed those sidewalks in this side here. I can send it to you all, you can see. I took pictures. So those, for example, we have many residents that want it to be done, but they do not have the, financial ability to do it. But they want, and we know there is a program here that can help, some to only is, the burden. So my question is, because they said the property owner has to do it and then request a reimbursement. So my question was, can we ask, instead of having the city give the 50% to the resident who want the sidewalk to be done, and we ask if you want your sidewalk to be done, give us the money and then we do it. Is
Well-
that something we can do or legally or to ordinance or
Well,
something?
Yeah, I think your question's kind of a mix of legal and administrative, but yeah, by ordinance, you can enact any ordinance as long as it promotes health, safety, welfare, and morals of the citizens. So that would certainly come under that heading. So the short answer is yes. Now, the devil is in the details, obviously. That is something that would have to be vetted and worked through. And as I said, it's probably a combination of legal and administrative.
That's why I asked before, I would love to know what administration think about it as well.
To the administration, please.
Yeah, in this case, the administration, I believe, has to abide by the ordinances. We can't break the ordinance. So Public Works will do what the ordinance says.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Renzulli, before we
promise,
move on to
last
the next
question.
item.
Attorney Verdecchio, in your legal opinion, if that were a thing that happened, then wouldn't the city take on that liability? Because we fix it wrong or whatever, we don't fix it on time and someone falls, then we're definitely liable. Whereas how it's written now, if the property owner fixes it, gets it fixed and privately or doesn't fix it when they know it's there, they're liable. We don't want to have more liability. We want to have less in general.
Well, I think you have, as I said before, and I used the example of the snow removal, that's an easier example. The court said, you're not, the abutting homeowner, even though they're tasked with clearing the snow, if they do it negligently and someone slips and falls, they cannot be sued. That only leaves one party. That leaves the city, okay? So I don't think that this would necessarily change the status that the city occupies as owner. Now, if you're going to, as I said, if you're going to cede the land over, the sidewalk over to the landowner, that's a whole different matter. Now it's absolutely theirs. If they make some repair to the sidewalk and they maintain it negligently, well, if we use the snow removal analog, I think, in my opinion, the court would take the same position that, look, you want to make them responsible to maintain the sidewalk, fine. But unless it's something ridiculous, something egregious, somebody leaves a 3-foot hole. I'm not talking about something like that, but it's just not a good job and somebody trips and falls. I don't think the abutting landowner will be able to be sued and it would fall back on the city, but that's the status, that's the state of the law now, anyway. I don't think that would really change.
Can I add something? You know, based on their program, the city has to inspect. That's why we make it easy for the resident and for the safety, because when if someone participate in this program, the city has to come to inspect if this sidewalk has been done properly. So now if you have to do all of those, why not? You know how it's done properly. Why not? You give me the money and then I will give you the work. I will make the work. I think that's something we can do for the resident. It's not gonna transfer any liability here. There's no liability transferable right here.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jermaine. Moving on to Councilman Papalaskis. He's not here this evening. I assume we want to move this to the next Public Works Committee meeting, which is update on the construction of Park in Knightsville. So through the clerk, if we can please move this on for next month. The next items that we actually have 8 poll requests from Rhode Island Energy on 8 different locations. If there's no objection, and we can legally do this, I'd like to have a motion to vote on all 8 polls as a block.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Clerk, can you please take the, sorry, discussion. Yes, Councilmember
So-
Donegan.
Sorry, Chairwoman, Vice President. I would ask that the motion be amended to remove the request from Rhode Island Energy for pole location on Cadillac Avenue. It's right around the corner for me, and unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity or I haven't been able to connect with the property owner about any questions. The pole would be on their property, and the homeowner, him and his wife are between Cranston and New York City while his wife is getting ready to retire. So I haven't had a chance to talk with them about it.
Okay, so we're removing that from today's, and,
From the block, and then subsequently I would
Okay.
ask that it be continued.
all right. Sure, Council President.
Along the lines of the discussion of taking it as a block, I will just say I won't be in favor of that this evening, because I did look at all of these locations and I do have some concerns with some of these locations, which I would prefer to discuss individually, but if this committee chooses to take it as a block, then I will just vote no.
I'm happy to withdraw my motions, take it as a block.
Would you like to withdraw your second, Councilmember Ferry?
Withdraw my second.
Thank you. So first item on the agenda then is yes, Councilmember.
So,
Is it about a poll?
yeah,
We're gonna go individually on each one of them?
Yeah.
Because we're not voting
So-
as a block, so do you have a question on one of them or the
yes,
first
on
two?
Budlong Wood, yeah.
We're going to have a discussion on that as soon as we have a motion to approve. So the next item is a request from Rhode Island Energy for pole location on Budlong Road. If I can have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, the question is
Jermaine.
like, who reviewed those, before it comes to us? Is there somebody who went there and the administration, this is okay?
We can have the administration director, Moretti.
Sure. The Public Works Department, the engineering group goes out to make sure that these requests are in compliance with the criteria. Criteria being 40-foot high poles, wooden poles, with, in these cases, all these cases, there's no tree removal or any substantial tree trimming involved, and that there are offsets from driveways of at least 3 feet. So they meet all those criteria. So with that, there's no objection.
Thank you. This satisfy your
Yeah.
questions and answer? Perfect. Thank you. So we have a Discussion, and now we have a motion to approve. Rose, can you please take the roll on this request?
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Riley, Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you. Next request from Rhode Island Energy is for pole location on Far Street. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. I hear none. Clerk, can you please take the roll on this one?
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to the third request from Rhode Island Energy for pole location on Randolph Street. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Council President Marino.
Thank you, Councilwoman, Council Vice President Vargas. This location, it appears when I did Google Maps, I can't speak anymore. Is that this may in fact block a driveway potential? Does the administration have any insight on that one?
I did have discussion with chief engineer along with director Bernardo, excuse me. And he did say that it is not obstructing to within 3 feet, which is kind of, I'll say, the standard or the criteria that they use. So he didn't see an issue with that.
When I pull it up on the Google Maps, there's a side driveway that's identified as Randolph Street. So I'm not confident of that with the drawings that are done. So I'm gonna vote no this evening. Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry. Councilwoman Manzulli.
Thank you. To Council President Marino's point, could we just maybe continue this one so we could actually check it out? I know Google Maps, if it looks that way and the council president is not confident in it, we could take a drive by, could just be how it looks. If I don't want to, you know what I mean, to put her in that position to have to vote no, instead we could just continue it and check it out further. Just an idea.
Am I hearing a motion? Councilmember Ferry.
Yes, just a recommendation in the future. I used to have a discussion with Nick Capezza prior to these meetings, and I would also drive out personally to most of these spots. And I would have a conversation with Marissa Albanese from National Grid. Sometimes the pole is needed because they're building a house and they need to put electricity on that spot. So how we vote sometimes really makes a difference on whether or not National Grid can do their job and do what they're supposed to do. So I'm not saying, I did not go out and look at this one. I did not see it, but in the future, we need to be more prepared to vote on these because it could make a difference if somebody trying to build a house or do a renovation or something to that effect. So that's all. I just wanted to bring that point to matter.
Thank you. Any other question or motions?
If I just on discussion, the description of the work that's provided says that it's needed to aid with slack between 2 existing poles. The problem I have is I don't know where exactly it's going to be situated because the driveway for 2 Randolph Street, let me be clear, is on the same side of where they're proposing a pole. Whether or not it's gonna be within 3 feet, I don't know. Perhaps we do want to continue this matter and get an exact location as to where that pole is gonna be located. This way, we're not doing a disservice to the resident.
Any other discussion? All right, is there a motion then to move this to the next March Public Works meeting on pole on Randolph Street?
Madam Chair, just as a procedural matter, there was a
Go ahead,
motion
sir.
to approve. That needs to be withdrawn. And then another motion to continue can be made.
Could I ask a question through the chair? I mean, I don't know if it's too legal or what. Is
Sure.
it possible this might be an ignorant question, my apologies, to just can we continue this to the full council? If they could get the answer and then we vote on it there, or it has to be voted in this meeting?
Has to be within committee.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If we are going to continue this, as we were just told, is would you, whomever put that motion in the second, would you like to withdraw it so we can
The motion.
believe it was Councilwoman Renzulli?
I withdraw my motion.
I withdraw my second.
All right, great. And then do we hear a motion to
Continue.
continue this to the Public Works meeting in March, the Randolph
so-
Street?
So
Oh.
moved.
Any discussion? Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine.
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes,
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
No.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Right, next request that we have is from Rhode Island Energy for pole location on Rose Street.
motion to approve.
Any discussion on this?
Yes.
Council President Marino.
This proposed pole location actually impacts 32 Vigilant Street, which is at the corner with Rose Street. And currently, there are already, I believe, at least 2 poles surrounding that property, perhaps perhaps 3 on the other side of Florida Ave. So by them adding this pole, it would be 4 poles, or at a minimum of 3 poles encumbering that property. The reason stated for the pole is said that it's aiding with guying the junction pole. Basically, it looks like a guy wire installation, but I'm not going to vote in favor of it. We can either continue it or with further information, or we can approve of it.
Well, there was a motion to approve.
In order to be
If you want to
consistent.
remove yours,
Yeah, I would, for matters of consistency, I will withdraw my motion to approve, and then I will make a motion. to
Councilman
continue.
Donegan, correct? Thank you.
I'll make a motion to continue.
Any discussion? Rose, can you please take the roll? And this is to continue for the March Public Works meeting.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine, Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes,
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you. There's a 5th request, and that's from the Rhode Island Energy for pole location on Cadillac Avenue. Is your motion to approve?
Motion to continue.
second.
Any discussion? See none. Clerk, can you please take the roll? To continue for the March 2023 meeting. Public Works.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine, Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes,
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you. The next request is from Rhode Island Energy for pole location on Sutton Place. Is there a motion to approve?
motion to approve.
Any second? Discussion? I see none. Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine, Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes,
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Riley,
No.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item is request from Rhode Island Energy for pole location on Park Avenue.
motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? I hear none. Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes,
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Riley,
No.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you. Last item on the agenda is a request from the Rhode Island Energy for pole location on Conley Avenue.
motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? See none. Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine, Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Manzulli.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Riley,
No.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you. I see no other business. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
No discussion. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And I have it.